Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Modern video. Now, I took Modern off the channel for a little while because of low analytics, and we're going to try to bring it back. This is the test video. If this video does relatively well, then I will open up the donation queue for Modern again. If this video doesn't do well, we'll wait on it a little while longer. So Antoine sent me a deck list and said, Phil, you can play this or you can play Legacy D&T. It's your choice. Now, this deck list is a first place Modern Challenge winning deck list that has 4 copies of Adeline Resplendent Cathar, which is a vigilant creature with power and toughness equal to the number of creatures you control. And whenever you attack, for each opponent, you get a 1/1 white human creature token that's tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker they control. So the idea here is basically to be a true aggro deck. Like, if you take a look here, there's like 2 copies of Thalia, Guardian of Thraben in this deck list, and basically everything else is just something that is here to fuck up your opponent's day. Champion of the Parish, Hopeful Initiate are here to just kind of scale up. And like Luminarch Aspirant and Thalia's Lieutenant are meant to power them up. So we have very powerful and aggressive possible curves here. And we are, in fact, so aggressive that we are willing to play Chancellor of the Annex just for its, like, pay 1 mana tax to slow the opponent down. Like, that's where we're at here. And Shining Shoal is a card that has recently spiked up in price, undoubtedly because of this deck. So it has the Force of Will sort of effect thing. You can exile a white card with mana value X from your hand rather than cast the spell's mana cost. And the next X damage that a source of your choice would deal to you or creatures you control is dealt to any target instead. So this allows you to redirect the damage from a lightning bolt, a fury, or whatever thing is going to take out your creatures. So the idea is that Chancellor of the Annex and Shining Shoal give you a chance to just kind of force all of your damage through and kill your opponent. Rounding out this deck list, there's a handful of other cards. Rafine's Informant is much stronger than it looks. I've played with this card in Cube a little bit, and I'm a pretty big fan. We're going to have a tiny bit of card draw in the form of Esper Sentinel, and then we're going to have Ameria's Call. Now, unlike Legacy, where we're looking to just always imprint this under a Chrome Mox, this has a very different use here. There's a converted mana cost of 7, right? Which makes it very strong with the Shining Shoal, while also serving as a little bit of endgame insurance if you are flooding out. It's really easy to remember the 4/4 Angel side of this, but remember, it does give the non-angel creatures you control indestructible until your next turn, and that can matter versus board wipes as well. Now, the sideboard is where we see more of the targeted hate bearers, with our removal of artifact and enchantments, and very much an emphasis on being able to deal with graveyards, or just having a relatively difficult to answer protection creature. Yeah, so I think let's go ahead and hop into the matches and see how this deck feels. I like this deck conceptually. I think this looks really strong, and I think this is going to be a good deck choice for someone like me who hasn't played a lot of Modern recently, because it is just going to get people dead. All right, please consider giving me a like or a comment on this video, help out the engagement with the old Modern video, and maybe we can get some more of this on the channel in the future. All right, let's battle. Okay, my opening hand here has a champion into a Rafine's Informant. I feel like this is below average as far as power level goes. Um, like, I have something to pitch to a Shining Shoal, but I'd rather have something a touch more aggressive here. And this is not it. I will go to 5. I don't need that many cards if they just enter the battlefield and start murdering my opponent. I am not happy with this. On 5, I will be keeping. And then it's just like, what do I want to keep? It's probably not Chancellor here. Probably either Solitude or Shining Shoal. I think I'm going to keep the Solitude. It's going to be awkward to cast with... Well, it would be awkward to hard cast with double Cavernous Souls, maybe both of which are going to end up on human. Alright, here we go. Cavern on human, drop champion. Let's see where this goes. Alright. Is my creature immediately eating it to a lightning bolt? No. I think I need my Hopeful Initiate here. So I'm just going to let that come in and hit me. Oh, nice. I'm going to get a Champion of the Parish. That's very good. This hand got insane with that draw, actually. So I will deploy a second Cavern on human. I will play champion number 2. I will play Hopeful Initiate, which will trigger both of these. And I am going to try to become the beatdown in this matchup and then use Solitude to nuke this Goblin Guide. My hope is that I can put my opponent on the defensive here. Alright, that's just a main phase fetch, which is fine. Give me that land, I could use some cards. Negative, it is a Shining Shoal, though, which I am pretty happy with. I'm going to take this 2 damage. Yep, Searing Blaze is very good. I kind of figured with my opponent's fetch that that might be what was happening. I'll have this choice of, like, Shining Shoal versus Solitude. Let's get in there. And now Training triggers, giving me a +1/+1 counter. Putting my opponent to 9. I'll definitely be letting the Goblin Guide attack. Whip Spear is fine. Opponent knows about this Shining Shoal, which must be horrifying from their point of view. Spend a Rift Bolt. That's fine. What this reveals. Yeah, this is Shining Shoal time for sure. So I just Shining Shoal here. Redirect this 3 damage to their face. They go to 5. And are probably just dead. Next X damage that a sorcery choice would deal is dealt to any target. So I choose my opponent as the target. Use the source as the lightning bolt. Opponent goes to 5. Gonna draw a Chancellor of the Annex. I go to 9. I draw this Chancellor, which isn't really any good. Now, do I want to attack my opponent with both of these? I really like the Goblin Guide trigger there was. I wish that had resolved before anything else had happened. I can attack my opponent, put them to 1, force these on the defensive. Holding back with 1 creature is really awkward because of the Rift Bolt. But mostly, does my opponent have more than this? You're always supposed to just Solitude the Goblin Guide. Any human is lethal, though. I'm going to try to force my opponent on the defensive. Yeah, maybe I should have just, like, not gotten excited. Solituded the Goblin Guide. Gives my opponent 2 more life, though. Alright, let's see if I'm dead. That is a skewer. I am very dead. If I would have held back both creatures, just gonna, like, lose these. The top card was another Chancellor. Yeah, with those draws there, I don't know that that's happening. Alright, so what do I have here? I have Forge Tender and Sanctifier Invec as pro-red creatures. And then I can also probably play Sanctum Prelate on 1, or at least consider doing that. What do I not want? I feel about Chancellor. It's, like, reasonable, but probably not where I want to be. Could probably cut Rafine's Informant pretty easily. And now, like, do I want this to shut off, like, either 1 or 2? Maybe I don't when I'm on the play. Also, I did mull to, like, 5 there. I don't like this hand. I have Solitude and things to pitch it, but I can't take advantage of the fact that I am on the play. Yes, this is so much better. I'm going to keep this. I think I'm throwing back the Hopeful Initiate. And be leading on Esper Sentinel. Esper Sentinel plus Thalia's Lieutenant or Luminarch Aspirant is a pretty solid combo. 1 damage is not that big of a deal here. Adeline is great. I'm going to go ahead and do Aspirant here. Improve Esper Sentinel and just start crashing in. The hope being that Esper Sentinel can, like, continue to scale up and get me more cards in a way that matters. Just gonna take the damage from my opponent here and hope that I eventually outscale them. Alright, there's a Shock and presumably another Searing Blaze. It is going at the Esper Sentinel. Fine, it does draw me another card. Would have been a cool spot to draw a Shining Shoal. There is an Amaria's Call. Don't know that I get to Shock to do this. Go ahead and put this on human. I'm going to go ahead and start doing Adeline things. This is already an X4. I'll scale up the Aspirant. If I attack, then Adeline gives me an extra creature. And then next turn, Thalia's Lieutenant is sweet. This is a human, right? Yeah, this is a human. Thalia's Lieutenant. Real good with humans. Alright, Boros Charm to my dome. I will go to 10. Fewer hurts. Swift Spear is not getting in because Adeline has a big butt. Love to draw an untapped land that doesn't do me damage, or like a Shining Shoal. Oh, there's a Shining Shoal. Very nice. So there's the Lieutenant. Throw the team. And Adeline's Vigilance here is just absolutely massive. Adeline is probably getting chump blocked. Gonna scale up Aspirant, so I keep Aspirant through a 3 damage spell of some kind. Send him. There's a 1/1 token, and this is going to do this like cool, like grow Thalia's Lieutenant every turn thing. Yep. So there's the chump block. I am at 5, but I'm at 5 with I'm at 7, but I'm at 7 with Shining Shoal backup, which feels pretty safe. This is your big moment, opponent. I guess I just take that. I'm thinking about like a Skullcrack, but I guess there's also like situations where my opponent just has double bolt. Second Boros Charm. That's fine. Is Fire Blast modern legal? Alright. Use Boros Charm. Redirect that to my opponent. I don't think Fire Blast is modern legal. So Sanctum Prelate when I am on the draw. Do I want it? I don't think so. Yeah, this hand is absolutely fine. My opponent has taken a mulligan this time. Alright, Goblin Guide on the play is good stuff. I will draw a land. Shining Shoal is great. And now I have to make a decision between Champion and Esper Sentinel. I'm not hurting for cards here. I'm just going to go ahead and play a Champion. Alright. Swift Spear is fine. I can send these in. There's a Barenton Forge Tender. Not going to block. So I think I am going to pitch Shining Shoal here. And just use it as a removal spell for Goblin Guide since I have an extra Thalia here. So target Goblin Guide. Pitch a Thalia. Use the damage from the Goblin Guide. Alright, cool. I think as of right now, my next play is Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. Alright, that's fine. Ooh, I have changed my mind. So let's lead on Esper Sentinel, and play this Forge Tender that can just hold the ground versus Monastery Swift Spear. I like where this is at, and then like Thalia plus Esper Sentinel is going to put pressure on my opponent's mana. Lightning Bolt, target, Esper Sentinel. Opponent pays the tax. I think I just let the Esper Sentinel go. I think it's just more important to hold this Monastery Swift Spear back from dealing any damage. Pro red. Alright, good stuff. Solitude is great. I'm going to go ahead and just tax my opponent's resources here. And then I'll start scaling up threats with Luminarch Aspirant next turn. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Adeline or Luminarch? I think Adeline here. Vigilance is pretty huge. And I think I'm just going to attack with my pro-red creature here. Like, this creature is just going to die to the Swift Spear block, which is fine. I don't want to use Solitude here. Alright, cool. Like, we've successfully gone a turn without my opponent casting a spell. It's just absolutely massive for me in terms of tempo here. Alright, my opponent's not willing to make the attack. And they call it a turn. Which is real nice for me. I can also just cast this Esper Sentinel first and make my opponent kind of make decisions immediately. It is really strong. I'm gonna go to combat. Go ahead and throw this on Adeline. Put this up to 5 toughness. I think I just attack with this though. Just deal 1 damage this turn, and then once Adeline is at 6 toughness and like better plays around multi-block scenarios, then I start going in with more stuff. Or I can just draw any white card next turn. Lightning Helix going at Thalia. There's an Aganjo. Timing's a little awkward on that. Is this the time where I just use Forge Tender? It seems fine. My opponent really wants this Thalia gone, and I would like to keep this. I will choose the Lightning Helix here. Keep that in play. Make my land drop. Call it a turn. And then, like, Adeline will carry this game away pretty quickly. Nice. I think I just do this pre-combat, though. I just cast this, take this out of the way, rumble in with everything. Alright, good stuff. Aspirant can just scale up Asper Sentinel for the tax purposes. And it's going to take something kind of crazy to get my opponent back in this game. I don't know if they're playing any wild sweepers that I need to worry about, but yeah. GG's. Okay, I like what I see here. I have the ability to play Champion into Hopeful Initiate into Adeline while also dropping Mutavault in there. This hand is absolutely going to rumble. Cavern on Human, let's go. Okay, are we doing some burn stuff again, or we got something different? Oh, just tap Triumph, sure. Land drop. Play Hopeful Initiate to scale up Champion. I technically should have played off Cavern of Souls, but I'm a bad Magic player. Also, my opponent just showed me a Mardu land, so I wasn't exactly expecting counterspells as the follow-up to that. I'm out of touch enough with this format that I'm not 100% sure what a Mardu Triome indicates. But luckily, it probably doesn't really change my decision trees at all. Because the plan is smack opponent in the face with Adeline. And, like, Adeline is going to scale up Champion of the Parish really fast. That Prismatic Ending is fine. Esper Sentinel's cool. I think I just need to play on curve here. So I do want to drop the Adeline pre-combat so that I do get the trigger. Alright, I do get to go to combat successfully, so I get 1 bonus damage from Adeline. And we're off to a pretty good start. I would be a little afraid of some sort of sweeper. Like, I have Mutavault, which is cool. Tapped main phase Sacred Foundry? That feels weird. There's some sort of... Okay, yeah. I was about to say, is there some sort of revolt card, was the rest of that sentence. And tapped or untapped? Tapped, cool. I'm going to play Esper Sentinel as my starting play here. Go ahead and fire up a Mutavault. I will get a training trigger this time since I am now attacking with said Mutavault. This is going to drop my opponent to 9. I'll drop another Mutavault, and I think even in the case of something like a Fury, like these Mutavaults still provide a lot of pressure on my opponent's life total. So what do you got over there, opponent? And can I draw some cards with Esper Sentinel? I'm a little bit running on fumes here. Dwarven Mine. Create a 1/1. Oh, okay, I know where this is going now, and I don't like it. What's the name of the token swap thingy? Indomitable Creativity, is that it? Yeah. So this destroys an artifact or creature. For each permanent this way, its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until an artifact or creature is revealed. The thing is that my opponent isn't really playing normal artifacts or creatures. So instead, something very big and dumb is about to happen. Very big and dumb. Okay. Junk this. Junk this. I can draw like a Solitude. Have outs to this. What is a Champion of the Parish? Destroys an artifact or enchantment. You are certainly not an artifact or enchantment. Rough. I'm going to play a Champion. I'm going to play a Luminarch Aspirant. Throw Champion. Go to combat. I think scale up Esper Sentinel so that I have a better chance of drawing cards. No attacks here. I am probably sacrificing a Mutavault when my opponent attacks. Like, that's my current plan. Sure. Right. Please don't do it again. Do I have any weird hate bears in my sideboard that can stop this? Oh no. Draw another Mutavault. Okay. Oh, this is fine. It really feels to me like my opponent was supposed to attack with the Archon first. Sure doesn't feel like that matters. What am I doing here? Animating both Mutavaults? How the fuck am I supposed to beat 2 Archon of Cruelties? Alright. Animate a Mutavault. Animate a second Mutavault. Then sack both of these. This life total swing is absolutely massive. It does take me off of Solitude. Yeah, but then my opponent attacks with both of these. I'm dead. I don't have a lethal attack in any capacity. Rough. Okay, what can I do about this? Sanctum Prelate kind of can deal with Indomitable Creativity, but not really. Granith Magistrate doesn't do anything here, right? Indomitable Creativity just puts them onto the battlefield. Yeah, it's just put onto the battlefield. That doesn't stop that. I might just play some protection from my opponent's removal spell creatures. Like, I can put a Sanctum Prelate on 4 to stop creativity for X's 1. I don't know about that. So Informant is going to become 2 of these. I think I like Chancellor here. I don't think I like Shining Shoal. I don't know. I don't know what my opponent's removal suite looks like to know how good that is. 1 Fire, Ice, 4 Lightning Bolt. Not actually that many red removal spells. Yeah. Then I'm going to go Bam Bam and call that good. This is a 1-lander. I think I would much prefer to have 2 lands here. I want to deploy... Fuck. I want to deploy cards. Keep them going. I will go to 5. Alright, fuck me. 1 land is what we're doing, apparently. Very disappointed with that. I think I'd rather have multiple Thalia's lieutenants here than 1 lieutenant and 1 aspirant. This is not a good hand. It is what it is, though. I can't get mad. This also doesn't feel like it's going to be a great matchup for me. Okay. The good news is if I draw lands, the Thalia's lieutenants will have 2 creatures in play to scale things up, or at least hopefully will. So we'll drop another one and kind of hope. Triumph time? Yep. Alright, what you got, opponent? Nothing at sorcery speed. Please land. Fuck. This hand was still so serviceable with a land drop in those first 2 draws. Now I expect that between the mulligan and missing my second and third land drops, that just too far behind to win this. About the only way I think I win is Solitude just stealing a win on accident. Yep. Get in there, little buddy. Well, the good news is my opponent's removal spells are being used on weaker than average cards. The bad news is everything else. Alright, no shocking. Opponent has all the time in the world here. Alright, there's the mine. Yep. Fable's rough, because I will be incentivized to use Solitude on that token so my opponent doesn't get the extra value. I really need a land. Fuck. I am intentionally not going to... I'm going to intentionally not use the Solitude on this token. Oh, this version is a little different than the one that I randomly pulled up. Lingering Souls is real good. Yeah, so I can Solitude one of these away, but I just don't think that I'm winning from here. Like, I take out one of those, and then my opponent's just going to make an Archon. I am comfortable conceding here. This is not happening. GG. Okay. This is an awkward hand because it does not have a 1-drop. I can play turn 2 Thalia into turn 3 Luminarch or Thalia's Lieutenant and treat this as my 1-drop play. I don't have enough reps to know whether or not this hand is a mulligan or a keep. It feels like I want to be more aggressive than just this. Like, there's only 2 Thalias in the deck. This isn't a portion of the game plan. I'm going to go ahead and mulligan that. I think this is a much, much stronger hand. I'm going to get rid of the Shining Shoal here. And we're going to start on Champion. And I get to play Champion into Esper Sentinel, or hopefully initiate next turn, depending on kind of how things look. Ooh, are we in a mirror match? If we're in a mirror match, I love that I have multiple champion. Giant? Oh, we're playing against Amulet. Okay, understood. I think the plan is kill my opponent as quickly as possible. I think that means playing Hopeful Initiate over Esper Sentinel this turn. I'm attacking for 3 on turn 2, and an absolute ton on turn 3. But Amulet can do busted things, so see if I end up being fast enough. Okay. So Amulet of Vigor untaps these bounce lands when my opponent plays them. My opponent didn't float mana with Cavern there. That was 100% a misplay. Now they can't play an Amulet if they draw one. Okay, that's fine. There's another bounce land. Opponent gets to untap that, and then they can float mana and either bounce one of these or bounce the Cavern back to hand. Bounce that, sure. It's a strong hand for my opponent. Opponent is going to be able to Primeval Titan next turn. If I draw a land, I can destroy an Amulet. Kind of help out with that. I did not. So we're just going in, playing another Hopeful Initiate, and probably just dying to Primeval Titan, unfortunately. Opponent has great chump block opportunities here. Like, they can soak up 9 damage here. Is really brutal. Anyway, I skillfully navigated that game and deserved to win. Okay. So, I have some things that can destroy amulets. I will probably be playing those. Doesn't seem like Sanctum Prelate has a particularly potent number. Yeah, like I can do 0 for Summoner's Pact, 1 for Amulet of Vigor. Probably don't have to worry about sweepers or anything like that here. Okay. So, Rafine's Informant is coming out for 2 of these. How do I feel about Shining Shoal? Shining Shoal does not attack my opponent's life total. I don't know. Like, Shining Shoal can be a burn spell for 6 damage in the face of a Primeval Titan. I think when I'm on the play, though, I am just going to try to get my opponent dead. I think I like Chancellor here. Knocking my opponent off curve seems really important. I think I just pitched this. Again, I want a... Fuck, come on. Alright, how many lands are in this deck? 21. Okay. Alright, I'll go to 5. Okay. This is about the point where I consider keeping some things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd probably keep Esper Sentinel here over Hopeful Initiate. Very unhappy about this, though. Yep. The Saga here is a tutor for Amulet. I will pay the life. I am still just going to drop this and hope that things go my way. Our Commando, like, in theory, would be very good versus this Urza Saga, but, you know, I'm missing land drops. We exploring? Are we playing that Arboreal Grazer idiot? Oh, an EE on 1 is very, very bad for me if I miss my next land drop. Thank you, deck. Very cool. Now I can't really play out Esper Sentinel. Well, that sucks. Because 1 damage a turn is not enough. This is one of those it is what it is situations, but like I just lost this one to not having reasonable hands. My opponent fetches out Amulet. Actually, Amulet in the face of EE is really awkward, isn't it? Maybe I should have just played out. No, my opponent just would have floated and cracked prior to that coming out. No, I played that right. Then I try. Oh, Micah's and Gardens is fucking gross in this deck. Oh my god. You just, yeah. Now my opponent gets double untaps on bounce lands. Oh, are we done? Cool. My opponent's hand was also awkward. So you're telling me there's a chance. So this scales up Champion by 2. I get to crash in for 3. Now, I am on the verge of death. Let's be clear here. I am very afraid. But I have so much potential damage here. Alright. How bad is it? This is 2 mana, untap, 4 mana. presumably bounce this to hand. Yep. I would like priority. Do something with a trigger. No, give me priority. Okay, thank you. Opponent fucked up. Like they have given me this priority, which means that I can remove this. So let's Solitude. Probably pitching the Esper Sentinel here. So I remove Azusa. And then the Mycosynth Gardens is my opponent's land drop for turn. So I have stopped them, at least for now. Next turn gets scary. I think the plan is try to kill my opponent. Alright. Yield to those. Yield to that. Yield to that. This is 8 damage. Brings my opponent to 9. If I had another mana, I could, like, Lauren and blow up one of these amulets, or Cathar Commando, sacrifice it, blow something up. Now my opponent gets to do the whole tappy-untappy thing and end up with 6 mana, which is Primeval Titan. Primeval Titan plus Amulet, like, times 3, I assume, leads to my death via, like, what is it? Slayer's Stronghold, Boros Garrison, and Haste. Yeah, okay. This is about to get real messy, folks. Okay, yeah, there's the Slayer Stronghold that I was expecting. And my opponent gets so much mana here. The Slayer Stronghold. Now I'm going to give this Primeval Titan haste. Oh no, they're going for mana there. Oh no, it did give it haste. I just missed the activation. Alright, do you have another Primeval Titan? Nope. Fine. What you're doing is probably good enough. That is a Teleria West. So this is a transmute land, and in this deck, like, that can be used to get whatever land you need, or it can be used to go and transmute for a Summoner's Pact to get you a Primeval Titan. It's pretty powerful. That tramples, so I'm just going to eat this damage. I am at 9. Solitude, you say? That allows me to get a lot of damage in this turn. I will Solitude, pitching my uncastable Lauren. Get Primetime out of the way. Drop a Cathar Commando, which is worth 3 more points of damage. And this is 12 damage. It is not quite lethal, but it's pretty good. I think the problem is that my opponent can just Primeval Titan haste me again, right? Like, transmute Teleria West. They have Slayer Stronghold in hand to give it haste. So assuming my opponent has the mana to make that all work with the appropriate colors and whatnot, I feel like I'm probably dead. Okay, my opponent went into the tank for a minute or two and is finally making their plays. So I imagine that they were just kind of figuring out all of their colors and stuff to make this turn happen. There's 6 mana. Floating the blue, so we're going to see Simic Growth Chamber bounced so that my opponent can, like, find a way to make another land drop and then transmute Teleria West, which requires blue-blue. Okay, there's just another Primeval Titan in hand. So Slayer Stronghold is in hand, and my opponent has already made land drop. I don't think there's a second one of those in the deck. I don't know where we're going now. Okay, yeah, it is. We are going to more blue mana. Alright, so my opponent's going to tap and untap those a bunch of times. Got a whole rainbow of mana up there. The Celestia Sanctuary back to hand with the first one. Simic Growth Chamber with the next one. There's the Transmute. Or Summoner's Pact, which can now get another Primeval Titan. Or maybe a Cultivator Colossus, actually. Cultivator Colossus puts those lands into play tapped, though, right? Oh, that's not a problem. Okay, or Arboreal Grazer. So now that gets Slayer's Stronghold. Yup. Now, that activates gives Primetime Haste. And then they activate it again, which is going to give them exactly enough to kill me through my 1 point of blocking. Which is super unfortunate. Highly complicated turn over there. They needed to get blue, blue, red, red, white, white successfully, so I am not surprised that my opponent had to go into the tank for so long. And just so my opponent doesn't have to resolve all of these, Actually, I should let them resolve all of those because I am 10 minutes ahead on clock. And my opponent timing out, I guess, is actually a real thing. Alright. Our commando jumps in front of the bus. And I do exactly die to trample damage. Okay. Do I want Shining Shoal? It's just a burn spell for 6 to 9 points of damage in the end game. Is that good? I have kind of a skewed view from the last game where I just like mulled to 5 and I think got stuck on some mana or something. Like when I'm on the play, can I just raw race my opponent? I feel like I get one of Chancellor or Shining Shoal. I also could drop Thalia. I don't know, the Shining Shoal is really only good if I also have one of these. Well, I guess it's one of these 9. My Miser's Shining Shoal is fine. Maybe not 100% ideal in terms of raw aggression, but this is okay. So, like, do I want to Esper Sentinel or just Hopeful Initiate? I think I want to Esper Sentinel here. This thing is not training immediately. Maybe something that I end up doing on roughly turn 3. Alright, let's draw a card here. I would like to get to a 3rd mana to Cathar Commando and activate in the same turn cycle. I don't think that's happening. Let's Cavern on human. I think I'm just going to do this at the end of my opponent's turn and take out one of these amulets. Or the Urza Saga. We'll just kind of see how it goes. Bad things could happen to me already. Dryad's good. Now my opponent gets another land drop. Probably Solitude pitching Hopeful Initiate as soon as I get priority. Okay, it's just a forest. Now that that additional land drop has been made, I can wait till end step here. Well, Solitude. Pitch Hopeful Initiate. Take out the Dryad. Then go ahead and drop a Cathar Commando. Again, I would like to hit land drop number 3 here pretty badly. Denied. We'll go ahead and attack in for 4. Put my opponent to 17. Then I think I need to blow up this Urza's Saga immediately. Land drop 3 mattered so much because I could then either deploy a second Cathar Commando or a Thalia's Lieutenant. The deck just raw might need more land. Uh-huh. I don't really want to Solitude that out of the way. Hope that just, like, becomes irrelevant. I wonder if my opponent played that turn correctly. I wonder if they're just supposed to copy Amulet immediately. Because if they don't copy Amulet at sorcery speed, if I draw a land, I can fuck it up with Cathar Commando. But I don't draw a land, which is maddening. I have to hold up Cathar Commando and Solitude and just pass the turn here. I guess the attack is free-ish. My opponent will almost certainly block, but it's not like Esper Sentinel is going to be blocking anything back. Alright. Yep. Yeah, like, my deck is just not firing on all cylinders because I'm missing these land drops so frequently. So, there's 4 mana. And my opponent will go to 6 mana after they tap this. So Primeval Titan is a go. And we'll see if they can make a second one. I got a Simic bounce land. Oh, okay, they're going to go for Slayer Stronghold, which is fine. So I will let them do their untappy stuff, and then when they go to combat, I will Solitude. So there's 2 mana, 4 mana, untap Slayer Stronghold, give that haste. I think I just... Well, I can just do it now and not give them 2 more life. The 2 life might matter. So let's pitch that. Champion of the Parish. Give my opponent 6 life. The awkward part about this is, like, now they can attack me for 2 with this Arboreal Grazer. I think me taking 2 damage doesn't matter much, whereas them taking... or their 2 life matters more than my 2 life does. Alright, I will go to 18. End of turn, get this. Again, drawing a land is so good. Cool. Didn't happen. I mean, I have to just destroy these amulets, right? I mean, if I give up on destroying the amulets, I can just play to the board and try to actually kill my opponent with Lieutenant into Lieutenant. I think the Primeval Titan lines are just too scary if I let those amulets live. So my opponent takes a Lightning Bolt worth of damage and just goes back to 20. And then I'll nuke one of the amulets. I'm not sure if there's a difference between doing these two in this format. The unfortunate thing here is that one amulet is still really good. 1, 2, 3, 4. It has to be a green bounce land, but that shouldn't matter. 5, 6 is just another Primeval Titan. And again, like, timing out my opponent might be real here too. They are not proficient with this deck based on their pace of play. Okay, that is another Mycosynth Gardens. Alright. This is where I'll draw the land. Nope, okay. I think I just need to start scaling a threat here. I don't think I can just keep doing this Cathar Commando thing forever. And I don't think it's worth pitching to get Grazer out of the way. It's much more important to be able to get rid of a Primeval Titan. I think this Cathar Commando is now on remove the next Primeval Titan duty. Fully planning on just pitching that to a Solitude. Alright, make your mana. There's 4. There's 6. There is a Primeval Titan. I will end up Solituding that. I'm probably going to end up waiting a minute. Okay, there's a Vesuva and a Teleria West. So my opponent is going to be floating a whole lot of mana here. Doing the whole tappy-untappy thing. Bounce Teleria West. I'm just going to let that happen. A Transmute. Or a Summoner's Pact. Let that mana empty. The combat. Pitch Cathar Commando. Or Thalia's Lieutenant. I'm not really trying to kill my opponent. I'm trying to time them out, I guess. I'm not trying to kill them. Cathar Commando is better for slowing them down. Let's pitch Thalia's Lieutenant. Dunk a Primeval Titan. Alright, I have weathered the storm for another turn. There is a Cavern on Human. I'll go ahead and cast this. Throw my creatures. Go to combat. Attack. Hit my opponent for a little bit. Then Cathar Commando one of those amulets out of there. Alright. I am very much in a disadvantaged position in terms of actually winning this game. The clock is the thing that's on my side here. And we'll see if I end up getting there. Adeline's a draw. Also, I could win to Summoner's Pact if my opponent plays sloppily. I don't really think that should happen, but, you know, here we are. So there's 2 mana. Bounce the Sanctuary itself. There is the Primeval Titan. I think at this point it is very difficult for my opponent to actually go and do what they need to do in the 18 seconds that they have remaining. Like, they can Slayer Stronghold and activate on this, but I don't think that they are going to get 2 attacks in with this in their 10 seconds that's on clock, especially since I can just go and block next turn. Yeah, that doesn't feel good. Like, I would have lost that match to a player who was proficient, but my opponent wasn't proficient, so here we are. My friendly neighborhood mimic here would like to thank Jacob T, Karen W, and Cthulhusaurus Rex for recently becoming patrons, as well as Black Sunny Zenith, Thana, Fabian, and Merrick S for doing donations that directly support me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'm feeling the love. It means the world. All right, back to the magic. All right, I have a very solid opening hand here, and this is an if. Assuming if I can possibly draw a land in a couple of draw steps, I have a very powerful curve of something like Champion into Luminarch into Adeline, while still being able to pitch this hopeful Initiate to Solitude. So I'm really happy with how this looks. Reef. We're potentially playing against, like, the Undying Evil deck. That occurs. I assume I lose Solitude here, and then my opponent does Undying Evil in response, or Undying Malice, sure. Then I'll lose Luminarch Aspirant, I feel like. No, I lost the Adeline instead. Sure. Haha. Nice. So, Grow Champion from the trigger. Grow Champion from Luminarch Aspirant. I'll bash in for 3 here. My opponent shocked, and I didn't. And I got the first attack here. So even though their creature is technically bigger right now and has evasion, I'm in a pretty good... Fuck you! I think Shoal, gonna feel good in this matchup. Alright, drawing my land drop here is pretty huge. Negative. That's a great draw, though. I get to champion, scale it up. Oh, wow. Do I have another removal spell here immediately? Sure. That's very strong. This is going to be an incredibly, like, blisteringly fast-paced game. Another edict. Fuck. Alright. I am in trouble, folks. I'm not out of this. Because, like, if I can deploy this Adeline, I can start creating extra creatures, which can then potentially chump block the grief. I think that's the point where I'm just dead. Yeah, because like this and this don't trade here. Yeah, I am comfortable conceding here. GG. This seems good. This keeps some of that scam stuff from working. I want Forge Tender as well. I probably want Forge Tender as well. Probably cut Rafine's Informant like I'm doing every round. And I probably get rid of Chancellors. I'm just boarding in so many cards here. Let's take a quick look at this. Yeah, this seems reasonable. Shining Shoals get a little worse without Chancellor of the Annex in the deck. But I think I want to keep the low drops. Oh, man. Basic lands are so good, folks. Basic lands are so good. How many of those are in this deck? 2. Alright, this is not going to happen very often, but probably have to mulligan this hand because of that. Sucks. Alright. I'll keep this. Turn 1, Hopeful Initiate. Turn 2, Luminarch. Turn 3, Lieutenant. Probably. A second Luminarch might just be better. I could lose Luminarch to Fury, and like this isn't as good. I could throw back a land. Like I could throw back Mutavault here and just keep an extra card, but I think the lands are nice in case I get hit by like grief bullshit on turn 1. Yeah, I'm gonna keep the lands. Alright, say Livy. I do not feel favored. Okay. Could have been much worse here. Probably Mutavault. And let's see which creature my opponent wants to hit with a removal spell. Oh, none? Okay. If you were always going to do that, like, do that pre-combat so that I don't hit you for an extra point of damage. Like, that feels not optimal to me. Okay, we're just chilling. Let's Cavern on Human here. And I think I'm just going to repeat the same thing as last turn. Okay. Are you edicting me? My opponent is missequencing the fuck out of these spells, in my opinion. Like, now I have the choice of which one of these I want to sacrifice. Whereas a second ago I didn't. So if I want to sacrifice the Aspirant and hit my opponent for 2, I have the opportunity to. I think I'm going to sacrifice the Hopeful Initiate, though. And then I'm going to get a little tricksy, I think. I'm going to animate Mutavault. Go to combat. Put a counter on this Mutavault. And call it a turn. This way, if my opponent wants to do something like a Fury at sorcery speed, they hit this while leaving me with my Mutavault. Thoughtseize whiffs. Alright, good stuff. Throw this on Human. Go ahead and drop the Esper Sentinel. Animate my Mutavault. Go to combat. Again, I think I'm going to keep playing around Fury to the best of my ability by stacking up my lands. Alright. Opponent's at 8. I have some amount of protection versus stuff. My opponent's just grabbing a tapped land. It really feels like I should be in a worse position. Okay. I get to draw a card there. I lose the Esper Sentinel to that. Not actually that big of a deal here. Thalia's Tenant is very good. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. This is going to become a mana source rather than a spell. I can play 1 Forge Tender, 1 Animate Mutavault. Do this, right? 1. Yes. There's. Oh, you're not a human. You're a Kithkin. So, Forge Tender. Okay, that's just enough. Sure. And I am on the draw. Do I want Chancellor of the Annex to slow down my opponent? Sanctifier and Vex are like very noticeably worse on the draw. You know, like at the same time, like Chancellor is just something that's very likely to get stuck in my hand in the mid to even late game. It's going to be hard for me to get to 7 mana to physically cast one of those. This is a time where I need matchup knowledge that I don't have. Given that I know my opponent is playing Hidetsu consumes all now, I like Barenton Forge Tender a lot less. I think I'm going to do something like this and play these and just make some of my initial turns better. Lands. I need them. Okay. I, in theory, like this hand quite a bit. I will be getting rid of a Shining Shoal. And we'll just kind of see how badly my opponent can tear apart my hand. Alright. I assume that I'm about to lose Esper Sentinel, and if my opponent can do it twice, I probably lose Aspirant. Yeah. So that comes back. Alright, I'm going to lose Thalia instead. That's fine. So I'm chilling. My opponent put a 4-power threat into play on turn 1. It is obviously real good. That's great for next turn. Just going to play the planes even though they don't know about that one. Scale up Aspirant, pass the turn. And they're just going to get a fetch out of the way. Sure. So, what is that? Mulligan's Command. That's rough. I have to choose between casting Adeline or just removing the grief that's on board. I think I need to remove the grief that's on board. I can draw more threats later, but I have to be alive to do that. And this is a very swift clock. Hey, it's Adeline. Alright. We'll do this on human. And then do what looks like just passing the turn because I have nothing. Then try to Aganjo this thing out. That's annoying, but acceptable. My opponent should probably just pass the turn here and make me waste my mana rather than getting rid of a grief. They don't agree and have given me a use of my mana, which I like very much appreciate. Alright. I have a very anemic board. My opponent has 2 cards in hand to my 0 and has more life and the active threat. Ugh. I don't really think I win from here. Well, that's good. So I can now hold back both of these and block grief. Tapped and attacking. No, I think I just have to hold back both of those to block. I think this top deck war is very much in favor of my opponent here because they just get to 3-turn me with Dalthy Voidwalker while I don't really have great attacks versus them. The 4th Adeline there as a draw is brutal. Like, I'll attack, my opponent blocks the token, I do a little bit of damage, but I need to draw an out to Dalthy Voidwalker or I'm just dead next turn. And pitch this Adeline to a Solitude that I draw. I don't have the raw damage to just kill my opponent next turn. Block. Block. I will go ahead and prevent the next damage that would be dealt to my Adeline. I will go to 3, Esper Sentinel dies. The land drop from my opponent. That's pretty good, actually. I attack with Adeline. Adeline makes a critter, meaning that I get 3 damage here. Then I pass the turn. I Shining Shoal, Dalthy Voidwalker. Oh, what is this? 2 damage to any target, return something from graveyard to hand. This is just my opportunity to do this. I do this. Yeah. redirect to the target of Douthie Voidwalker, pitching this card. Forces Culligan's Command. Alright, so I'm okay if my opponent doesn't draw another live card. Okay. Non-token creature, so that just kills my thing. Then they have exactly enough to cast Grief. And I'm at 3 life. Pretty bad. I need to draw. Thank you. I needed to draw a creature there so that I could realistically double block Grief. And now we're in a top deck war that favors my opponent since I'm at the lower life total. Alright. I have to block with both due to Menace. I assume my opponent kills my Thalia's Lieutenant. Alright, no trade there. Or sorry, they get both, yeah. Amaria's Call. I should hold this in hand, right? For Solitude. Yeah, for this turn, I should hold this in hand. It's a little awkward if my opponent draws a Thoughtseize and then, like, my land drop beats it. Blood Crypt 4 gets put onto the battlefield. I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to play this because then I can play, like, Thalia with a Ganjo Castle up. Fuck. That's pro-white as well. I don't think I have any outs to that. Yeah. That's it. Dunzo. GG's. Okay, final round here. I forgot to check my score. I think we're 2-2. I'll absolutely keep this hand. I have multiple copies of Champion of the Parish. I might actually cast a Rafine's Informant here. Ooh, we're playing against some sort of... Oh. We're doing this. Okay. So, my opponent is going to try to do nonsense to me. They're probably playing like a Lantern control deck. So I'm going to look to get on the ground very quickly here before they can lock me out. I don't know exactly what this deck looks like right now, but like, or if that was actually... You keep a one-lander over there? Yikes. I don't know whether or not this deck is playing blue counterspells. I'm going to go ahead and play out one of these. Put it on human. Use that to cast a champion. Scale up a champion. Play a hopeful initiate. Scale up 2 of those. Hit my opponent for 3. They're going to be at 15. They do get a land drop this turn. And Codex Shredder is one of the things that lets them manipulate the top of their library. Yeah. Emery is fine. Oh, Mycosynth Gardens. That's interesting. Alright, yeah, so they're going to mill me so I don't just Solitude. Adeline is really fucking good as a draw, though. Like, it's not as good as Solitude, but it's really good. So, do Adeline. Throw 2 champions. Go to combat. Attack with all of these. Get a training counter on my creature. Get a human, which then puts more counters on these. This is 11 damage incoming, which my opponent is just going to take. We'll call it a turn. I guess I should probably make these closer to the same size. But sure. Like, you need, like, an ensnaring bridge or something? Yeah. Okay, I don't know what this deck looks like right now. I probably need to look at that. Okay, it's not even on MTG top 8 as something reasonable to play. Okay, there's 4 ensnaring bridge in the deck. Stone Brain is something that's new that I wouldn't have seen before. Urza's Saga is in there. Mycosynth Gardens. Okay, I've got the general gist of it. So, does not necessarily seem like I need that. Florins and Cathar Commandos seem good. Granith Magistrate doing me anything? Yes, because of Emery. I will want those in there. Sanctum Prelate on 3 seems insane to stop Ensnaring Bridge from coming down. This only exiles black and red things from graveyards. Okay, cool, got it. So like I'm doing every round, I'm just going to cut Rafine's Informant. And then this game probably goes long enough most of the time where I don't actually, like, the compression in the first couple of turns doesn't matter here. I'm going to keep 1 extra Rafine's Informant just because I don't think I want to play either one of my free pitch spells here. Yeah, this is Absolutely a keep. Plan is probably Hopeful Initiate into Thalia. Just try to keep Ensnaring Bridge out of play for as long as possible. And see where it goes from there. My opponent will know whatever card I draw this turn. Take their draw for that. Then Amaria's Call. That's fine. Cavern on Human. Drop Hopeful Initiate. Call it a turn. I have a Solitude for an Emery if I end up needing that. Urza Saga is obviously good. Position is good for my opponent. That probably takes my Thalia. Although, like, it's not like I don't have other problem cards here. But I am correct. It is Thalia. Adeline is great. I don't want my land to get thought seized, so I think I'm going to go ahead and take 3 here to just get that into play so I can always Adeline next turn. And if this board stalls, I can create a very big creature with Luminarch Aspirant. Dash in for 2. Dropping opponent to 18. Adeline is coming. Baubles are fine. It's something that can grow Urza's Saga tokens. Alright, there is the Ensnaring Bridge. Not necessarily the end of the world. It's very good for my opponent. Alright, so I will do this. I will go to combat. I think I'm just going to put this counter over here. The Luminarch Aspirant has a better chance of being able to attack in future turns. I'll just send in. This does get me an extra creature. Opponent's at 14. So I have 2 1/1s that can just continue to attack. It's also maybe a boring round where I win by timing my opponent out. That is very much a thing that can happen. Alright, so Lantern is here. Thopter Foundry, sure. Okay. It begins. Opponent has 1 card, so I can attack with 3 1/1s this turn. Don't really want to play Thalia's Lieutenant basically ever. Hopeful Initiate's insane here. Sorry, I just realized how good that was going to be. I think I'm going to do this. Exile this creature. Take out this construct token. I need 3 mana to do this. Do. I'm going to go to combat. Put a counter here. Going to destroy Ensnaring Bridge by removing both of those counters. Go to attacks. Send it all in. Get an extra human. And deal a very large amount of damage to my opponent. Like, you can have... Yeah. Good stuff. Alright, that brings us to the end of this league with a positive 3-2 finish, which I'm happy about given that this is my first Modern match in, I don't know, the better portion of maybe 6 months. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I like this a lot. I'm maybe not 100% sold on everything, but part of that might be me not understanding the format well enough to get all of the nuances. For example, I'm like really not high on this card. I boarded it out in basically every round. I wonder if I should just board in to like pre-board 2 copies of Cathar Commando and then get 2 more sideboard slots. That's kind of the first thing that comes to my mind. I also wonder if I should just like cut one of them for 1 more land. I know that I'm an aggro deck and I don't want to go too heavy on land, but especially considering that Amaria's Call pitches to Solitude and Shining Shoal, like I kind of just want 1 more land in this deck list for a little bit of consistency, and so I don't have to mulligan as much. So yeah, I think I would add 1 basic planes to this deck, a Rafine's Informant, and then move 1 Cathar Commando to the main deck, and then just have 1 more sideboard slot available. I don't know what that sideboard slot is supposed to be, but that's kind of where my head is at after having played this. Generally speaking, I liked the cards that I had access to in the sideboard. I didn't super feel like I was missing anything in the limited number of rounds that I played. I will, however, say that even with my limited experience in Modern, I feel like my opponents were making mistakes against my deck list that like I could very actively see. So I wonder how this, well, I mean, like, this was a first place challenge deck list, so, like, obviously it performed well at higher levels of play. But I definitely feel like I got cut a little bit of slack by my opponents throughout this league. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. let me know in the comments whether or not you want to see more Modern. Vote with your eyeballs. If this gets a bunch of views, I'm going to reopen the donation queue to Modern. Anyway, I hope you have a great rest of the day. Throw me a like on your way out. See ya!